welcome to Hello Westchester here on WCHE every Monday from 11:30 to noon. I'm Eric Lambert, joined by Kara Cordoni, publisher of Hello Westchester. You can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. Good morning, Kara. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Great to have you on here as always. So a lot of stuff to get to in today's show. We'll kick things off by talking about the Westchester Area School District struggling to change a new reality.
Yes, this is kind of a tough one that we've been watching, but it has to do with the district's test scores on standardized tests, particularly in reading and math. These scores have been falling for the last 10 years straight. So while the scores are still above average, they are not where they used to be. So in 2015, when the data starts, Westchester students were reading nearly 3 grade levels above average, and they were doing math calculations more than 2 grade levels above average, above U.S. averages. By 2025, that number had dipped to 1 grade level above for each. So that's a loss of 1.7 grade levels in reading and a loss of 1.2 grade levels in math. And so last week I was able to talk with Westchester Area Superintendent Dr. David Christopher about scores, learning, what's going on, and more importantly, really, what is the district going to do to change this and kind of stem these losses? Because while the district is still above averages, like I said, if the trends continue, it won't be for long. So there's kind of an urgency here, and Dr. Christopher, to his credit, acknowledges that he agrees that things do need to change. So that was, so we had some of those discussions. But Westchester is not alone here in this decline. The data is coming from the Stanford Education Opportunity Project. So they analyzed the score data for 3rd through 8th graders in traditional public schools in the U.S., and they found that the test scores were down across most districts. Over the last decade, reading test scores have fallen in 83% of districts, and math scores have fallen in 70% of districts. At this point, there's no obvious answers for the declines. One common belief was it had to do with the pandemic, but while you do see a decrease, the decrease is kind of heightened during the pandemic. What the data shows is that the slide had already started well before the pandemic started, like I said, 2015. It has continued. Now we're nearly 5 years past, and it is still continuing. There's also increases during this time of online assignments, cell phone use by kids. Those, have been shown to be tied to attention spans, but there is no evidence at this point to tie them directly to trends in test scores. So, it's a variable people are watching, but right now it's not confirmed. Other hypotheses point to a change in the curriculum. There was a change in a popular reading curriculum during this time. That may have had an impact on certain aspects. There's also, during this time, the test scores were no longer tied to government funding because there was a change. Previously, they had been under No Child Left Behind, and then that changed during the Obama administration. So there might have been a lack. It might be partly due to a lack of accountability or that kind of urgency felt at school districts. So a lot of hypotheses about what may be going on. So that provides, there's not a lot of easy answers here, but obviously a need that something needs to be done. And we should also say that, if we look at this, there are school districts that have seen some changes, including locally. So I was able to talk to a couple of other districts in our area who have been able to turn around the falling test scores. Downingtown Area School District is one of them. They had seen a similar drop in reading than last year. They saw those numbers edge back up. Their math scores have been even more impressive after suffering the same pandemic slide as most districts. Their students are now performing math computations 2.7 grade levels above U.S. average. That's actually an improvement for them over their 2015 scores. So in math, the students haven't just rebounded, they have gained. I talked to Downtown Area School District Director of Communications, Jennifer Shealy, and she was telling me that they've been intentional over the last 3 years about aligning resources with student need. So they've really focused there. They've assigned additional literacy specialists to schools serving students with greater academic needs, and they're using the data to offer more targeted interventions. She says, we believe our recent positive student performance results are a direct reflection of everyone working together with a shared focus on student achievement across the district. Another district who has seen improvements is Avon Grove down in southern Chester County. The Avon Grove School District was able to turn their scores around. They had seen both reading and math scores rise consistently since 2023. Avon Grove administrators agree with the challenge of pinpointing causality, but they found success through school-level accountability and continuous review of what's being taught. So that's kind of where their focus has been. They're also looking at other things, too. They said they are looking at cell phone and technology use in the classroom, and they have made some changes regarding that. But they're too recent to really know if they're a contributing factor to the recent score improvements. So there are some bright spots out there, some signs of things that may be working. In Westchester, they are kind of embracing some of those techniques, some of those learnings there, as well as some of their own thoughts on what's going on here. Dr. Christopher said kind of there is a plan, and it is already underway. It kind of started it's kind of top down, so they're starting with the administration. One of the first things they have done, and this is in place now, is they have kind of elevated some people in the administration to really focus on these needs. That includes promotion of Dr. Kalia Reynolds, the Deputy Superintendent. She's overseeing teaching, learning, and equity, pupil services, special education in elementary schools. They're also they've tasked each school with creating with being more accountable for the education of their students. So each school has to put in a improvement plan with measurable results. That may have been done in the past, but those activities weren't always supported at the administrative level. So while they were done, maybe schools weren't always held as accountable or supported in these efforts as they should have been. Now they're going to be doing both. So they all have building level goals and improvement plans, and they're going to be working with the administration to make sure that those are met and reached. Another action they're working on is helping teachers level up their approach. According to Dr. Christopher, we really need to improve our teaching and what is being taught throughout the school year. I think that's part of the overall trend is there's just an overall learning loss. Westchester students are just not covering enough material in the school year. I mean, it's what what they're saying. So while they haven't changed curriculums, Dr. Christopher fears that maybe they have not done enough to support the teachers in understanding and best teaching that curriculum. So they're going to work on professional development, upping that for students. He said, our Tier 1 instruction and curriculum, are they aligned? Because a new textbook is not going to help if they are not aligned, he said. So you can change the textbooks, but if you can't, you don't change how you're teaching that, then you're not going to get as far as you need to be. I also asked him about changes in the high school schedule and if he's concerned about that, because the new schedule is going to limit classroom time. And he's not concerned about that. He doesn't feel like it's a time issue, instructional time issue. He feels like it's more of making better use of the time they have, and getting more out of that time, changing kind of teaching methods to focus more on project-based learning, more hands-on activities. He wants to see students doing more of that, and he actually feels that if they tried to do that under the current schedule, it would be too much for students, and there would be burnout among both students and teachers. So lessening the schedule a little bit should help in his views. I did talk to a teacher who said that with the way the schedule is structured at the high school level, the new schedule, that there just isn't going to be enough time to cover the amount of material that they are now, and that units and lessons will have to be cut. So there's obviously still some friction there, going back and forth of what's their best approach. I think what the universal truth is here, and what we're, that they've come to, is that change is needed. So there may still need to be some fine-tuning on what the changes are, obviously some measurement to see which ones are working, but changes do need to have to be made. And according to Dr. Christopher, he said, we have to change how we are teaching. They don't want to. That's where they want the focus. The focus needs to be on the changing of the teaching, how that's done, how students are learning. He doesn't want to teach to the test, but he does want to make sure that they're changing how they're teaching. So, So that was a story lead story from last week, which I think has this little sense of urgency to it that we need to kind of start paying a little more attention.
Yeah, it seems like overall there's some good and bad news. There were some of the districts, as you pointed out, Avon Grove as well as Downingtown, that had, they've been doing very well, but some others not so much. And I feel like there are a lot of layers to it, too. You mentioned, like, the social media usage. Now with AI, that's a whole other thing, and then the attention spans and everything. So it's really interesting to see kind of how things have changed over the years.
Yeah, exactly. It's very complicated. I think that's why it's a little bit of a guess and check type of approach. I think understanding that changes do need to be made is important. I did find it reassuring to see that some of the districts had made changes. I mean, when you look at the broad reporting on a national level, it focused so much on everybody constantly declining and no answers. But to see that, there have been some positive results locally, I think, offers a sense of hope. Hopefully we can, too, take some lessons from these other districts and maybe see some improvements in the coming year as well.
And as we continue to get more and more away from the pandemic within the last 6 years here, I'm curious to see if we go on a higher trend or what ends up happening here. So that was a little bit here on the Westchester area school districts. Let's go next to the restaurant inspection reports for May.
Yes, so restaurant inspection reports are out for May. Again, this is where the Chester County Health Department inspects all food serving institutions in Chester County. We look at the ones in Westchester. This month there were 11 institutions out of compliance. But overall, even those out of compliance, most were relatively few violations. So that is a definite improvement. And I know there's always like back and forth about talking about these things, but I do think that maybe we're seeing a positive trend of lesser violations, which is beneficial to everyone. So
and more of the 100%ers as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the number of 100%ers. We'll talk about that in a minute. But some of the ones out of date this month, Thornberry Farm on Thornberry Road, they were out. They had 3 violations, including ready-to-eat cheese without a date marking, and 2 walk-in refrigerators with deteriorating shelves, and cartons of milk of raw eggs without proper labels.
Thornberry Farm, right?
Yeah, that was Thornberry Farm, yes. Papa John's Pizza at 510 East Gay Street, they were out. They had 3 violations, including several sinks that needed cleaning, and they also had a hole in their exterior door in the alleyway. And, if we learned anything from Taqueria Los Poblanos, I mean, they should get that taken care of right away. You don't want anything coming in from the outside for sure. Yori's Church Street Bakery was out. They had 4 violations, including grab-and-go items not labeled with the food name, and their exterior door was left propped open. La Baguette Magique, they had 6 violations. That's on 202 West Market Street here in the borough. This included employees changing tasks without washing hands in between, and they had 6 gallons of milk found 1 day past their sell-by dates. All those gallons were disposed.
Yep, that one as well. The Biscuit Lady was one.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger ones. She's not been here very long. Maybe she wasn't aware of this inspection reports. But the Biscuit Lady at 39 West Gay Street, they were out. They had 14 violations, including milk and with a sell-by date of 5 days past due. They had raw eggs stored above ready-to-eat foods, such as milk and OJ. And they had a honey butter and an icing left out overnight at room temperature. Since both contained butter, they were discarded. They can't be left out. They were discarded the next day. There was also no soap in the upstairs sink and no paper towels at any of the sinks. So a few violations there. Another one that had a few violations was the King's Garden restaurant. This is at 308 South High Street. They had 7 violations, including dumplings cooling on the counter and dishes sanitized using a bleach not labeled for food contact surfaces. That sounds a little dangerous. I don't know if it is, but that product was replaced during the inspection, so obviously that's good now. Also, there were some dirty ceiling tiles that need to be replaced and a deli slicer that needs to be cleaned and sanitized.
So a few out of compliance, and what did you want to go with next? Back in compliance or the 100% club?
Let's do the 100% club, and then we'll go to back in compliance. So 100% club, this is a new feature we've created. These are people who were able to make their annual inspection without a single violation. It's not easy to do, but the list is growing. And this week we have Dairy Queen, Las Vegas Pizza, Susan's Wedding Cakes and Sweets, Mayday Coffee Cruiser, Turk's Head Cafe, Blue Tape Foods, and Amazing Acres Goat Dairy. So to see some full operating restaurants make it through without a violations, that's impressive. I think in the past we've seen more like, the Mayday Coffee Cruiser, maybe some stands and stuff, but I think this is the first month we've seen full restaurants, so good for them.
Yep. So I was going to say staying in compliance, and hopefully they're able to continue to do that, but definitely a positive sign, the 100% club.
Yes, and back in compliance, the Jarlin's Poultry at the West Town Amish Market, New Westchester Diner, the Microtel Inns and Suites, the Cordoba Mexican Eats, Patlamos Pizza, Primo Hoagies, Dim Sum Taste, Luke Oil, and Chipotle.
Yep. So, of course, recognizing some of the ones that were out, but of course, we'd be remiss not to mention some of them back in compliance. And so you can read the full restaurant inspection reports or check out the latest status on the newsletters. So we are at 11:47. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with much more to come. Stay with us. And welcome back to Hello Westchester. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Kara Cordoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which you can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. So before we get to quick updates, we had some news on the public meeting at the Fern Hill Reservoir being delayed.
Yes, so we talked about this, I believe, last week. Aqua has proposed drawing down the Fern Hill Reservoir, letting that kind of naturally convert back into Chester Creek. It was dammed 100 years ago in order to kind of provide drinking water to the area, but that capacity is no longer needed, and it hasn't been used for a while now. So they're looking to draw it down rather than repair the dam, I think is kind of the options there, and that would be costly. So they want to draw it down, want to let it return to Chester Creek, and then they want to turn it over to West Goshen Township. There was supposed to be a public meeting scheduled with West Goshen supervisors as well as with Aqua and their administrators there to kind of address public concerns on that. But this is likely going to be pushed out into July. There is another caveat to this. The land originally belonged to Westchester Borough. It was sold to Aqua as part of with its water rights when they did that. Sold those in 1999, I believe. But the deal did include a stipulation that if Aqua was going to vacate the land, that they gave the Westchester Borough an opportunity to buy that back for around $8,000. So it is unclear at this point what Westchester plans to do with those rights, but it is delaying the process a bit, as Aqua does need to reach out and kind of engage with Westchester and see what their actions are going to be. There's also some discussion among West Goshen Township supervisors. They have reached out to Aqua to see if they could also delay the initial drawdown of the reservoir. That was supposed to start in July as well. It does look like Aqua is open to pushing that back to perhaps September 1st. But under a PADEP permit that they have, Aqua does need to have the drawdown complete by October 1st. So it may delay the start of the project, but not necessarily the end of the project. So some questions, so still more questions around this. We don't yet have many answers, and it looks like it might be another month or so before we have those meetings and really get into the meat of this.
Yeah, so it seems like the proposal is still moving, but obviously not as quickly as first expected. And with this delay, I mean, I guess one of the things, it could give the public more time to understand what's being proposed before these final decisions are made, which I don't think is a bad thing at all.
I don't think it's a bad thing either. It came out so quickly and out of the blue, really.
Right, so that was a little bit on the Fern Hill Reservoir, so the public meeting was delayed until either July or August sometime coming up. Let's go over to some quick updates. We'll start first, Chester County under a drought warning.
Yeah, so this was a reminder sent out last week. Despite some recent rain and some heavy snowfalls, Chester County has remained abnormally dry since October, putting us in a drought warning. Under the warning, officials are asking that residents and businesses curb their daily water usage by 10 to 15%.
Yep, and so there's some more information on that online as well. And then let's go next to Westchester, a new running program for kids.
Yes, so Track Stars is a running program targeting kids, pre-K through 8th grade, really. That is kind of like a little track and field for kids. It was started by a kid herself, actually a sophomore at Downingtown STEM Academy, Chloe Stanfield. She started this actually 8 years ago now. She's now graduated college, but she's looking to expand beyond Downingtown to Westchester. If you have kids who need a way to get out some energy this summer, it's a kind of a fun way to get kids active and out there. Not only do they run, though, they also get to try out some field events.
So it looks like they are now accepting runners for some summer sessions, so make sure to check that out. Let's move next to the Turk's Head Music Festival, happening last weekend, just took place with a heavy change.
Yes. So yeah, the 43rd Turk's Head Music Festival took place on Sunday. Nice weather for that. Looked like it was a pretty good turnout. I got a chance to walk over quickly. But there was one kind of big change from previous years, and that was where the food trucks were located. They had been allowed to drive in and park on the park grounds, but on a request from the Friends of Everpart Park, they were moved to West Union Street and parked on the street. We live on West Union Street. It was closed during the duration of the festival, but it seemed to work out pretty well, having the trucks on the street rather than in the park. The move was requested because these trucks are very heavy, and putting them over tree roots compacts those roots, and that's really bad for the trees.
So how was you mentioned you got to check out a little bit? Was it big, like widely attended? How did things seem to go?
I would say it was, solidly attended. I mean, I don't think it was maybe, hugely attended, but also not sparsely attended. So I think it was, a really good day for the festival. Yeah,
I'm glad the weather held out, because I know early last week when I was looking at it, looked a little iffy. I know they did have a rain date, but I'm glad to see that did hold out for it.
Yeah.
Yesterday with the Turk's Head Festival. Let's go next to a new Goodwill coming to Westchester.
Yes. So a new Goodwill is going to be opening off of East Street Road. This is where the Walgreens used to be. An official announcement came from the Goodwill Keystone through their social media last month that store is coming. They're making in-store improvements right now, and it's coming soon. They are hiring if you're looking for a job, so keep that in mind.
Yep, so that'll be coming up soon to the Goodwill Keystone, and then they posted on their Instagram last month, and so make sure to check that out when that does come up. Let's go next to Westchester new parking app.
Yes, so goodbye to Flowbird. It is now officially sunset. Westchester Borough is now using exclusively Park Mobile. You don't need to download the Park Mobile app if you don't want to. There are text-to-pay and call-to-pay options. There's also a lot more kiosks downtown, making that easier if you prefer that kind of pay model. However, if you are and you do make frequent trips to town, you may want to consider downloading that app. There's a classic version of the app that you can use that charges a service fee per use, and you just use it as you would any other parking app. But if you park a lot downtown, at least once or twice a week or so, you may want to look into they do have a subscription option. It's $3.99 a month, but then you don't pay those service fees.
Yep, and I know one of my co-hosts last week, he ended up doing it, and he was saying it was night and day, the difference between
easy.
Flowbird to Park Mobile, saying how much easier it was.
So. Oh, that's good. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but that's nice to hear. Yeah, I did struggle with Flowbird myself.
It seems like some of the initial feedback has been very good to that. Let's go next to Westchester High School seniors celebrating graduation.
Yeah, so last week was graduation week for Westchester High Schools. In total, 1,008 students crossed the stage. That would be 342 graduates from Ruston, 361 from Henderson, and 305 from East. Congratulations to all those students, and good luck in the future.
Yep, so congratulations to our local graduates doing some big things. And then, speaking of big things, Westchester University went to the national championship, a historic season. We're not able to come up on top, but a great season for Westchester baseball.
Yeah, we've been following this one for a little while, and they did move on to the finals. They lost the first game of that finals is a best-of-3 series against last year's national champions, Tampa. They lost game 1 in 10 innings, so extra innings, very close one there. They were able to rebound and take game 2 on Friday, but yes, as you mentioned, they dropped game 3, 8-4 on Saturday afternoon. So coming up just short of that national title.
Right, but still getting there is a great feat. And I think I mentioned earlier on, 48 wins this year, the most in their history. So a great season for Westchester University baseball. And in the closing minute, let's go over to, I know we had some events to look ahead to. Yeah,
always something going on here, right? So this week, if you're looking ahead, so June 11th, this Thursday, is the 2026 Trailblazer Run. This is over at Paradise Farm Camps. It supports East Bradford Parks and Rec. It's the 14th year. I will be attending with my son. We're going to run it. It's going to be 90. It's going to be hot. I'm not excited, but I will be there. Also starting up this weekend is Yoga in the Street. This is on Gay Street. This is a downtown Westchester event. It's $5. It takes place just outside the Westchester Post Office in Gay Street. Bring a mat and your cash and some water.
Yep. So that. Oh, go ahead.
I guess we're running out of time. But so one more. We'll go June 13th on Saturday is the Ruston Day of Film at the Chester County History Center. This is in celebration of Juneteenth and Pride Month. 2 for 1 there. It's done in partnership with the Westchester Film Festival, and tickets for that are $10.
Yep, so a lot of great things coming up this week, as always. And thank you, Kara, for your time as well. And listeners, we are at the end of the show. You can check out the podcast at 953wchg.com on the podcast tab and at hellowestchesterpa.com. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.